Little warning here guys, I think I have a cold, so if my voice is really crappy in this one, I'm sorry. Hello everyone, it's Riley and welcome back to another Kingdom Hearts theory video. Today we're going to be talking more about Nomura's artwork, Ventus, and how it connects the overarching plot of Kingdom Hearts Union Cross. Please remember everyone that the following is just a theory, nothing is confirmed and this is all fan based. Some of this information may be outdated in the future, so please bear in mind that later on some things may become incorrect. But let's get started with the theorising. To begin to explain more about Nomura's artwork, we firstly have to go all the way back to the release of Kingdom Hearts Key, which is also dubbed as the Keyblade War. This mobile game has caused many fans hours of confusion, complicated plot points and agonising side quests. Don't worry everyone, I understand your pain completely. But we need to look at certain cutscenes to understand where we are today. Of course, Kingdom Hearts Key was mainly released in Japan, replacing Fragments of Light with a card system, but not in the same style as Chain of Memories, whereas later in Europe and beyond, Kingdom Hearts Union Cross was released and we had the delight of using medals. Kingdom Hearts Union Cross and Kingdom Hearts Key are not the same game, which is why I believe we are facing so many complicated hardships today. However, to begin to understand why this is, we must look again at Kingdom Hearts Key and the meaning behind it. Kingdom Hearts Key and back cover happen simultaneously, one focusing on the adventure of the player, whereas the other focuses more on the background of the foretellers. Logically, you can understand why this is, as we don't really see much of the foretellers in the mobile game itself, so pieces of the puzzle are, as expected, to be missing. The journey of the player begins with the Dive to the Heart scene, where we're then able to select a union, be given our first Keyblade and meet our union leader. From looking into the foretellers' descriptions, we already know that the Keyblade the Masters wield were crafted by the Master of Masters himself from a fragment of their hearts. However, linking to a theory which is years old by now, each Keyblade has a symbolic similarity to the Master of Masters' eye in the same style as Xehanort's Keyblade. So we can assume that the eye in this instance represents the person who created it. Whether the eye acts in the same way as it does with No Name is of course another question. Kingdom Hearts Key begins with the player meeting Chirruphy, the shock that this strange yet adorable creature is a Dream Eater, and later meeting Ephemera for the first time. If you divide certain scenes up, you can begin to work out which scenes take place in which game. By this I mean the divide between Kingdom Hearts Key and Kingdom Hearts Unchained. According to Master Ava, the land of Unchained is one of no boundaries, it's a dream world, one where the dandelions can train in a world very similar to their own, yet different. The events of Kingdom Hearts Key do not follow those inside of Unchained. Whilst they are similar, they are not the same. One example of how this is how we have not seen the events of the Keyblade War in Unchained Key. Yes, we have seen flashbacks and images of the war, but we as the player have not taken part in the war in this instance, but this will be touched upon later along in the theory. The player begins experiencing strange dreams, one where they can see the foretellers discussing something with the Master of Masters. It is later revealed that these are conjured up by Dark Chirruphy, who claims to be the player's Chirruphy as well, who has been poisoned by the darkness from their own player. Later we meet Skuld, who is also enrolled into the Dandelions. When we are asked to join, we decline, aware that if we leave the current realm, many of our friends will die. Therefore we decline and go to fight in the war, which has in actuality happened. During the war, depending on your registered union, you fight each of the foretellers. Gula's fight is the most noticeable, as he seems to have vanished after fighting. We know from back cover that Gula's mission is to somehow bring back the Master of Masters, as he is the only one who can apparently fix what has happened. In order to do so, he must conjure forth Kingdom Hearts. After the fight, the player is seen exhausted on the ground, surrounded by empty Keyblades whose masters have perished. Suddenly we become engulfed in a bright light, dandelions floating around us to symbolise the dandelions themselves, who have already gone forth into the new world. Skuld and Ephemera greet us, and then the screen is engulfed in a bright light. A few things to point out before we continue. Strelitzia's death happened pre-war. We know this as all new union leaders were recruited pre-war and told to gather once it was all over. Strelitzia in this instance is no different. Following on from this, she discovers that only a select few can go forth into the new world. She feels it's necessary to inform the player of the events that are about to unravel, leading later into her death. Kingdom Hearts Unchained Key follows the same story, and was later renamed to Kingdom Hearts Union Cross. As previously mentioned, the only difference in this game is that we don't see the war itself. This is because we are now presumably in the world of the Unchained, one where the war does not exist. Whilst familiar faces and characters do, they are not the whole character, shall we say. They are merely replicas of what once was. The images of the war are merely dreams, flashbacks of what happened in the previous world. This was because the new Union leaders were tasked with erasing the memories of the Dandelions, so that when they enter the new world they do not remember the hurt or the pain. Nobody remembers the suffering of what has previously occurred. The player is also included in this. However, with our recurring nightmares throughout Union Cross and the fact we now exist in this new world, it is clear something is going to happen with the player in the next Union Cross update. Also, this isn't related to this portion of the theory, but I want to throw this in here. The beginning of Kingdom Hearts Key and Kingdom Hearts Unchained Key opens with a book, presumably the Book of Prophecies, and Kairi and her grandmother. The grandmother telling the story that she is known for throughout the Kingdom Hearts franchise. The ending sentence, however, it's the world we live in now, and the emphasis placed on the backdrop of Radiant Garden. Does this perhaps suggest that the events of Kingdom Hearts Union Cross will lead to the creation of Radiant Garden? If the story is describing the Keyblade War, and how many people fought for the light and then small fragments remained inside the hearts of children, these presumably being the Dandelions who then rebuilt the world into Radiant Garden, it would align with the story that Kairi's grandmother is known for. We also know that the wielders in the Dandelions are referred to as children, so this would also support the theory that it was indeed the Dandelions that helped build Radiant Garden. But back onto the main theory. Looking now at Nomura's newest artwork and taking a closer look at the mysterious figure, we know now thanks to fan speculation that the flower this mysterious figure is holding could possibly be the Bleeding Heart flower. The most common definition of this flower is that it is considered a symbol of purity and innocence, instead especially to represent beautiful young women who have died in a tragic way. However, there is also another addition to this. The message behind the flower itself reads, "Even sorrow can lead to beauty if you are willing to deal with your emotions. Watch out for scorned love and save your affections for someone who appreciates and returns them instead." Now, this is just something, again, I'm just going to randomly throw in because I've just suddenly thought about it while recording this theory. If you all remember the English lyrics to Kingdom Hearts 2's opening Sanctuary, "I need more affection than you know," it does really relate to this specific flower. So could Sanctuary and Kingdom Hearts Union Cross be more directly related than what we initially think? But let's go back onto the actual script for this theory, I'm sorry. Judging from this definition and from what interactions we have seen from the new Union leaders so far, we know that Blaine and Ventus are hesitant to follow the instructions given to them by Master Ava. They are hesitant to lie to the Dandelions about the war and make them forget. Ephemera, however, insists that they must do this as the pain is just too great to bear. So could this flower and Ephemera's face symbolise the fact that this mysterious figure and Ephemera himself share a special connection? That in fact Ephemera must betray Master Ava and make everyone remember the war? Will this hidden individual teach Ephemera that he must confront his past and be the leader Ava wanted him to be in the first place? But then of course we must ask the question, who is the hooded figure? Well, upon further inspection and looking at other pieces of Nomura's artwork, we know he tends to sometimes give characters more of a busty appearance, shall we say. One example is the artwork for Chained Memories, where Sora's chest is more pronounced than most other 14-year-old boys at the time. Therefore, we cannot rule out the possibility of this figure being male. Now, I know a lot of people are probably going to dislike me for saying this, but I do not think that this character is Strelitzia. Looking back at her death, Strelitzia did not become a heartless nor a nobody. Her body was not enveloped in darkness. Yes, you need a strong heart and will to become a nobody, however this did not happen. It's the same as Master Ericus. One would naturally expect a master to become a nobody, and a very powerful one at that, in the same sense as Master Xehanort did. However, Ericus did not, as his body was not enveloped in the darkness. He just died and then vanished, his heart presumably going to Kingdom Hearts itself. Therefore, we can say the same must have happened with Strelitzia. So, now we go back to the drawing board. Who could it possibly be? Well, if we aren't sticking to the limitations of gender, can we suggest Luxu? After all, he already has a black coat and is currently wandering the Keyblade graveyard himself, presumably looking for an apprentice. Well, I personally don't believe that it is him either. My reasoning for this falls in line with Nomura's quote, that we must pay close attention to the positioning of the characters in this newest piece of artwork. If we look back at the artwork from 2.8's cover, you can see a distinctive closeness between the foretellers as well as the Master of Masters. However, one thing stands out in particular. The Master of Masters and Luxu are next to each other. Though they are not looking at each other, which one would suggest they are working together, they are close, which suggests that they are aware of each other and on a similar path, but Luxu is not aware of the Master's full intentions. This is based on the fact that Luxu is also in the background of the image and at a much lower height. Aced is looking away as he believes that a war is inevitable, that there is a traitor and he must gather his union to fight in the war. Aced is also acting alone in back cover, therefore his artwork is looking away from the others. Gula and Ava share a very special connection. Ava's role, of course, to gather powerful wielders for the dandelions, and Gula to find a traitor. The two unite over the fight between Gula and Aced, leaving Gula to confide in Ava about his thought process. Linking to the scene between Gula and Ava in back cover, I would like to point out that Gula doesn't actually share with Ava what else is written on the last page. We know that he does with the player and Skald, suggesting that when the bell tolls, the war will begin. We can also assume that the following on from the scene between Gula and Ava, that this is when Ava goes to find Lucio, and looking for answers herself as to why the Masters disappeared and what is actually going on. Gula wants to summon Kingdom Hearts, but in order to do so he needs Lux. By summoning Kingdom Hearts, this will bring back the Master of Masters, as we know that the back cover and Kingdom Hearts key happen simultaneously. Now, how does this piece of artwork link back to the newest piece that Nomura has published for us? Well, let's firstly look back at positioning. Lauriam and the hooded figure are facing away from each other. They aren't back to back, there is a distinctive space. Lauriam is smiling whilst the other is frowning. We can assume therefore that the two are not working together. Lauriam is also holding a dandelion and directly gazing at it in a similar way to the Master of Masters. Therefore we can guess that any initiating of future events will be done by Lauriam's hand. Ephemera's face has evolved from when we had previously seen him. In the past he had a light-hearted smile, clearly at peace and calm with what is happening throughout Kingdom Hearts Key and Kingdom Hearts Unchained Key. However, in this latest piece for Union Cross, his face is alarmed. Not shocked, but at the very least he is conflicted with whatever it is he has seen. And this, as mentioned earlier, I believe is his self-doubt. He is aware that perhaps Master Ava was wrong and that everyone deserves to know the truth. Blaine and Skald, either side of Ephemera, appearing fairly calm and at peace. Skald is looking into the distance in the same way that Envy was next to Aced in 2.8's cover, whereas Blaine is looking slightly up, his face finally revealed to us. This pokes a question as to why Nomura finally decided to show us Blaine's eyes. Whilst there are two options here, either this is a deliberate attempt at hiding Blaine's darker side, his smile once again coming off as light-hearted but perhaps has a darker meaning, or a nudge that in fact Blaine isn't responsible and his hat is only used to keep his character a mystery. According to name definitions, people with this name are excellent at analysing, understanding and learning. We already know that Blaine has analysed the rulebook, asking if everything written inside is actually true and can it be trusted. Now of course I understand why people believe he is connected to Ienzo. We know his definition is linked to the fact that his eyes can see a lot of truth in one person. Now from these two definitions, do I think that they are connected? Well, I do believe they are. Whilst I do not think they're the same person, it is possible for traits to be passed down a family line, or even picked up from a character in story. Lastly, let's look at Ventus and Chirruphy. Ventus presumably clutching his knee and looking down as if he is sitting, and Chirruphy standing or floating beneath Ephemera, looking for some reason sadder than normal. From interactions we have seen between Ephemera, Chirruphy and Skald, we can assume that this Chirruphy is the player's Chirruphy. His gaze is also focused towards the centre of the screen, looking perhaps at what exactly Ephemera is. It is clear that in the new story updates from Union Cross that we will perhaps be seeing a much closer bond between the player's Chirruphy and Ephemera, but I will discuss what this could mean later. For now I want to focus on Ventus and his position. Currently we know Ventus is asleep in Castle Oblivion, awaiting to be woken up. Now let's argue that Union Cross is taking place in a sleeping world, and Ventus truly is there and not an illusion conjured up by the Book of Prophecies. And who's to say that Ventus himself is not dreaming of his past, and that his actions there are being relived out. Taking a look at the fragmentary passage trailer we see at the end of Birth by Sleep, for a brief moment we see Ventus leave his chair in Castle Oblivion. Is it possible, therefore, that Ventus temporarily left the castle to visit the realm of sleep? Now I know this idea is bonkers, but bear with me for a moment. We know from Kingdom Hearts Key that Maleficent has entered the sleeping realm, or at the very least the timeline of the Union Cross universe. We know it's the Maleficent from the present day because of her reference to Sora. So does this mean that the Maleficent has access to a copy of the Book of Prophecies, and that if this is the case, where did she get the book from? The next question is, what does she plan to do in this realm? Well, considering the Book of Prophecies has the ability to predict the future and conjure forth creations from future worlds, anything Maleficent changes can therefore affect the outside world. We can guess therefore that this is how Maleficent is aware of the black box, from her involvement in the sleeping world and the Book of Prophecies. So is it possible to guess that therefore she is aware of what is inside the box and therefore needing it to take control of all of the worlds? But I'm getting away from the point. If Sora in Kingdom Hearts 3 was to try and fix these problems, he would also need a way of getting into the realm of Kingdom Hearts Union Cross. We know Riku has previously dived into Sora's dreams more than once, and even managed to wake Sora up by venturing once again into his dreams. If Sora needs to gain the ability to awaken those from their slumber, then perhaps Ventus dreaming of Kingdom Hearts Union Cross is the key. If Sora was to enter this realm, it would also give us an example of how Ventus may be awoken. His heart currently resides within Sora, but his mind is living out the events of Union Cross. Bring the two together and Ventus will be able to become a whole person again. This would also explain why Ventus is directly next to a Dream Eater, which is what we know Chirruphy to be. Perhaps Ventus has more of a connection to the sleeping worlds than what we believe. But then we must ask the question, if these events took place before Birth by Sleep, how did Xehanort discover Ventus in the first place? Well, to understand this, we have to go back to this hooded figure. The lost page that Gula has speaks of an inevitable betrayal. Of course, we can link this to Aced and Luciu mainly as he leaves the original Foretellers and later strikes Ava to begin the Keyblade War, but we also know that the Keyblade War was predicted at the very end of the Book of Prophecies, with Xehanort wanting to start another war and No Name presumably being in the present day. Then of course the true Keyblade War will be the one to occur in Kingdom Hearts 3. Now linking this to the betrayal, is it possible that the betrayal will come from this hooded figure? We know that traditionally black cloaks may not necessarily mean someone is working from the wrong side. Riku, for example, wears a cloak so that he can pass through the realm of darkness safely. Mickey also does the same at the end of Kingdom Hearts Reverse Rebirth. So what's to say that this character is in fact a good guy and is just using the cloak to protect themselves from a much greater darkness? Again, linking back to the fact that they are facing away from Lorien with a much sadder look on their face, they are aware of the tragedy that's taken place and wishes to end the hurt. Now, finally, joining all these pieces together, I have a few suspects in mind as to who could be beneath the cloak. Firstly, Riku. The reason why I suggest Riku is he has become a dreamer. He has the ability to dive into Sora's sleep, and if this is indeed a sleeping world that Ventus has access to currently, what's stopping Riku from diving into Ventus's heart, which also resides in Sora again? After all, Aqua has said many times in Birth by Sleep that she needs to be present for Ventus to awaken. Riku and Mickey have gone to rescue Aqua from the realm of darkness. She is the key to solving the mystery of Castle Oblivion. Bring these pieces together and we quickly realise this could actually be a possibility. Next would be Master Gula or Ava. I know that the argument is that Master Ava perished in the Keyblade War, however we know Gula presumably left. Perhaps Gula has realised how much of a tragedy this is and is mourning Ava's death in this war, realising that the lost page wasn't actually talking about the betrayal in this world but rather the next. There isn't a whole lot of evidence for this suggestion, but it's certainly an option. Also, finally, I also want to suggest the player. Nomura has deliberately drawn this character to be ambiguous. We can't solely judge their gender on any part of their body. If the player, for example, becomes aware of Strelitzia's death and that it was their fault she died in the first place, naturally they would be placed in a position of them mourning her. They would also realise that the Keyblade War did happen and many perished. They begin to feel darkness grow in their heart, converting Chirruphy to its much darker appearance than it had in Kingdom Hearts Key, and don the black hood to conceal their change. This could explain Ephemera's change expression, that the fact it was a friend that he had saved and now the darkness in this world is growing stronger, could this explain it? Finally, before I conclude this theory, I have one final piece of information I want to throw into the mix. Sorry if this has been confusing. The trailer to Kingdom Hearts 3, both from 2014 and 2015, shows Xehanort and Ericus having a conversation about the Lost Masters. If the memories of the Dandelions were wiped and everyone forgot about the war, how can a conversation about the Lost Masters truly be taking place? We know it's the Masters' favourite story, so either it's someone from the new Union leaders or the memories of the Dandelions were never wiped in the first place. The mantra of the Master of Masters has always been passed down. We are yet to see any of the new Union leaders use it. Could one of these perhaps be the apprentice to Luciu, and if so, who could it be? Of course, this is all just theory and speculation, and a long one at that. I apologise. But the answers are drawing near, everyone, and of course, everything is up for discussion. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions onto who you think this hooded individual could be. Let me know in the comments section below. If you like this video, guys, be sure to give it a big thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one.